When you want to size, move, rotate, or mirror a design, you want to know which functions are available. So for example, I have a built-in design, the heart, and some lettering on the screen. So right here is the control center, and beside it to the right, there are 4 items. So depending on which one is blue or active, we'll give the control center a symbol in the middle, indicating which one and what it will be able to do. Now, I sometimes forget which one does which, so remember the question mark and a touch will bring up the help menu. For example, this first one has 4 arrows. That's for positioning. We can do positioning in more than one way. We can actually touch and drag the design on screen, but we also can fine-tune it with arrows to the right or the left. Now, as I hold the stylus on the screen, you see that it's moving very, very small increments. Sometimes when you just touch it one time, you won't see it actually move, but it is moving in very small 0.1 or 0.2, yes, 0.1 millimeters at a time. So you have very small movements available. If you go ahead and touch the center, it will jump back to the center of the hoop. So that's a nice way to kind of return back to 0 by 0, up and down. Now the next one is the rotation. Now keep in mind, sometimes I leave myself in one of these other areas and I'm trying to move the design, it's not working. You got to remember, you got to go back to the one you need. For example, moving or rotation. Now rotation is nice because we actually have where we can touch and drag. You can do it that way. And you'll see the percentage or degrees you are turned. We can also tap that back to 0 degrees or touch undo. Now undo will go back multiple times. We also notice that there's a 90 degree in the middle of the control center. When we touch that, that will turn that whole design 90 degrees. Now I'll tell you the truth, most of the time I just need to turn the design, for example, to fit in the hoop. So using that middle bullseye there is really going to be probably what you're going to use the most. But a slight tilt to the side, you can do that with the arrows or with your stylus. I'm going to return that back to 0 degrees. And the next one is a scale. Scale is going to allow the design to get a little bigger, a little smaller, but it doesn't change the stitches. It's going to just really spread them out or push them together. So I'm going to undo that. When we work with a design with lots of stitches, you're going to want to use the resize feature, and that's over here where there's 3 little flowers kind of next to each other. You'll get to a new screen, and then as you size, these will increase the stitch count. You can see it go from 8,000 stitches and increase. Okay, it really does change. All right, whoa, we got really big there. We can still also move our size throughout here, and you can see that what size we're actually working at. That's almost an 8-inch heart. How nice. So I'm going to go ahead and touch OK if that was not what I wanted. Wow, look at that heart. Now we can see the stitch count doubled all the way up from 8,000 stitches to 16,000 stitches. So if I want to come back, I can come back to the resize area and bring that down to more the size that I was originally doing. Now it does take a little bit to recalculate those stitches, so as you go from screen to screen, that can take just a few minutes for that to change as you go. So you'll need to kind of wait for that as it jumps around. So that's back about where we started. Now the reason I brought in the lettering is because when we touch on the lettering, we don't, okay, let's get a box around it so we know it's selected. And if you're having trouble selecting it, you can always use this button here and it'll select the different designs, especially when they're on top of each other. I use that quite a bit. So when the name is selected, notice that resize is not an option. So you'll use the scaling feature and be able to make your words or letters bigger here. Now this fourth one is sometimes a little confusing. It is called a pan, and it is a picture of a hand. So it's like if this was a piece of paper and I put my hand on it here, I can slide my paper over here so I could see maybe something off to the side, especially if I'm zoomed in. So for example, with this selected, you'll see that I'm not moving the design in the hoop, but I'm moving the design side to side on my screen. So if I'm really zoomed in, here, let's zoom in a little bit. All right, so right now I can't really see my letters, but if I'm in the pan option, I can slide down so I can see the letters and still be zoomed in. So that's a great one to do. When you want to go get zoomed out, touch the magnifying glass and zoom to hoop or zoom to all. I usually do hoop because then I can see, okay, how big am I working with in comparison to my hoop size. You also have mirror image. Now we don't normally mirror image words, so let's just go ahead. We'll select the heart, and we have up and down mirror image. And of course, since this is symmetrical, we're not going to see a lot of change from right to left, but we do have those right there. You can also do both mirror images. So you can actually have all 4 directions, and whenever they're blue, they are active for mirror imaging your design. When you're ready to get everything stitched out, just touch go to start embroidering.